This is my latest sweater I'm in the middle. I've just finished the back and took all the measurements, and it's exactly what I wanted. It measures, this is to be a 36 inch when it's finished, and the width measures 19 inches, which would make it 38 inches when it comes out, which is what I wanted, because you need a little bit more than your actual size. And the length from the rib to the back of the neck measures 24 inches, and from the rib up to the armholes is 16 inches, and from the armholes up to the back of the neck is 8 inches. All the measurements that I wanted, they've all come out right, so I know I'm not going to have any trouble getting this to fit afterwards. And the stripes that I've put on help you with your measurements, because sometimes it's difficult to measure from the armholes up to the back of the neck. If that's the only part you want to measure, you have to measure from the rib up to the back of the neck. But with the stripes being there, you can get the exact measurement. Now I have to sew in all those little scraps of yarn that I've got down the side. I'll have to sew all those in before I sew up the sides. And there's a little bit of yarn. I always leave a lot of yarn when I cast on, and that'll go all the way up the side when I come to stitch it. So now I'll show you a few more pieces when I get more done, but it took me a little while to do this one because I've had a few other things to do. Before I started this sweater, I did a swatch, and as I don't follow patterns, I don't use the printed patterns. I use my own judgment and work out my own measurements and how I like it. And the swatch, it was a 2-inch swatch that I did, but the measurements came out, it was 6.5 stitches for the width and 8 rows for the length. That was to the inch, and that was done on, this is double knitting yarn, and that was done on a 4mm or size 8 needles, which is how I call the needles. That's old size, but I still use that size. Even though the needles say 4mm, I prefer to see a size 8. That's my age, I suppose. But I started off with the rib, and I worked out that for this part, the main body part, I was going to need 121 stitches because it's a pattern that needs an odd number of stitches. So I cast on 115 stitches, and on the last row of the rib across here, you can see the 1 or 2 where the different marks in the rib. I increased the row a few more stitches to make it up to 121, and that's how I worked out the measurements for this, and then the length and the width and that all came out right, what I wanted, so my measurements were correct.